Share.
So let me just share the book for the time being. Interesting, that is not.
It says he is streaming live on YouTube.
Yes, and I'm sharing the book right now. He's allowing me to share the book now. I believe you can see now. So good morning to everyone. And I'm looking forward to have another great opportunity with you all today. Let me just remind everyone, this is not a lecture, this is a study, so everyone is more than welcome to participate and help me out, by the way. So don't be shy. We have stopped on the item 95 of chapter 5. Conversation with troublesome Noyer's Street Spirit. 1. Evocation. Why did you call me? Do you want me to throw some stones at you? Then we would see you
Skedaddle.
Yeah, I don't have a clue what that means. For
Run.
What is it, Christine?
Run. Get away.
Okay.
Move quickly.
Right. Okay, good. Thank you. For your lives, in spite of your brave airs. Number 2. Throw all stones you want. We still wouldn't be frightened. In fact, we would like to see if you can actually throw some. Well, perhaps I couldn't right here. You have a guardian that watches so well over you. Is there someone in your streets who has helped you with the evil tricks you are playing on the inhabitants of the house? Of course. I found a really good instrument, and there was no learned, wise, and prudent spirits to stop me, because I am merry and sometimes I like to amuse myself. Who has served you? Who has served as instruments? A maid. She has helped you without knowing it. Oh yeah, poor girl. She got scared the most. Do you have some hostile purpose? Me? I don't have anything against anyone. But folks who feel they always have to meddle in everything will turn the matter to their own advantage. What do you mean by that? We don't understand you. I'm just trying to have fun, but you will study the incident and you will have one more fact to prove that we exist. All right? You said that you don't have any hostile purpose, but you have broken all the window panes and the places we have in the place and have caused real damage. That's just a minor detail. Where did you find the objects you threw around? They were all over the place. I found them in the courtyard and in the neighborhood gardens. Did you find all of them, or did you make some of them? I didn't create anything or compose anything. If you hadn't found them, could you have made them? That would have been tricky, but we can mix materials and make something. Now, tell us how you threw them. Oh, that's hard to me to say. I looked for help in the electrical composition of that girl and mixed with mine, with his last material. So together, we could carry those objects. I'm just continuing through those conversation, questions and answers, and then at the end we can talk about it, right? I think you all agree to give us some information about yourself. First, tell us if you died a long time ago. Yeah, a long time ago, at least 50 years. What was your job? Nothing special. I was a rag picker in this neighborhood, and sometimes I got insulted because I really liked good one, only knows red liquor. That's why I wanted then to clear out. Have you yourself, of your own free will, answered our questions? I had an instructor. And who is your instructor? Your very kind King Louis. I'm just going to read a part and stop here, or we'll get lost as well. So we go back to the item 16, right? After we talk a little bit. So we can see first what we call evocation. Kardec did that wisely, initially asking the permission from his benefactor to do so. But when the spirit came, he was not very happy in the first place. Why you call me? I had something better to do. I was not happy. I'm not happy to be here, or something like that. Should we evocate spirits? I never did. I never felt compelled to do it. But do you, if you ask me, would you do anyway? If you have to, yeah. If I feel that would be positive in the assistance of the suffering spirits we do, yeah, why not? But how can you do an evocation? The way it was done in this example by Kardec, he was calling the name, specific name of the spirit. But can we evocate in a different way? Yes, we can. If we are thinking about the spirit, that's an evocation already. We can attract the spirits to where we are, or even to the mediumship meeting. So saying that, Guilherme, have you ever evoked any spirits? Yes, I did many times, because I think about them many times. I think about the spirits that we work with, and I also think about spirits of people close to me that is no longer in the matter. So yes, we all evocate spirits. By the way, sometimes daily, because we remember the loved ones. We think about them. And when we think, we are already attracting them. But evocate in the sense of what Kardec did? No. So through this conversation, Kardec was trying to find a middle ground between what he was doing, why he was doing, how he was doing. And he did. Through simple questions, he found answers. He found the source of the fluid used by the spirit. There was a maid, right? He found the reason why he was doing. He then started to ask a bit more in-depth questions. How do you do? How do you perform those? And then the spirit could only explain, according to his knowledge, his point of view, how things were possible to happen. What I take from that conversation is, sometimes the spirit do not know everything. No spirits know everything, right? And if we, is the same thing, if we ask a bartender one chemical question, and if we ask a Ph.D. the same question, they will both give an answer according to what they know, according to their exposure. Why am I using a bartender as an example? Because he makes products. So if we ask about the chemical composition of a drink, for example, he will give that explanation. Simple explanation, you get product A, B, C, mix, that's it. If you go to a Ph.D. in science, he will come with a massive chemical formulas to explain more detail how that process is happening. And just to finish that comment here, Are you here because you want? You came on your free will? Well, not really. It was kind of brought by Louis, right? King Louis. And now, if you want to ask something or say anything before we continue, it's time, or we will continue.
I have a tiny question. Did you mention that when you think about loved ones that passed away in some way, you're evoking them? How not to evoke them, but send good vibrations to them?
When we, yeah, go on. Sorry, I thought you had finished.
I have.
Okay. When you think about one spirit, you create already a connection to him, a mental connection to him. Depending on the thought you had, I'm just sending a prayer, I'm just sending a good thought. You're just sending, and he will receive that information. He do not need to come closer to you. Let me give an example. I miss so much my mother, my grandmother, pick one. Oh, why you left me? It's different than, oh, Father, send all my love, send all my care to my loved one. It's different. So they will be connected in both cases. But one, you're just sending a letter. The other one, you are pulling them from wherever they are closer to you. Everything is down to vibration. Everything is down to what you're thinking. Hi, Pablo.
Can I ask about, like, we were talking about evocation, so it came to my mind people that make experiences with those Ouija boards. They are trying to do evocations even though they don't know what they are doing, right?
I have one. I bought in France and I took back home to show people what it is. And people were scared when I took away from my bag to show. And it depends. When do we have kids? Because quite often kids play with that. When we have kids playing on the Ouija board, is any spirit on the vicinity that come to have fun, you know, or to answer things? But you can also ask, I want to have an answer from this spirit, and then becomes an evocation. I do not advise anyone to do it. And even though we had other, not only the Ouija that people use, we have some games you can buy, we have some practice with the glass of water and things like that. It depends where you are. There are different ways to do the same thing, right? And I strongly advise not to do. Why not? Without having the minimal knowledge required to ensure the safety of the procedure, if you like. Just a minute, Christine. Without having the minimum knowledge to ensure the safety of the procedure, it's better not to, right? Because imagine if something goes wrong. Sometimes wrong is not enough, because then the problem is already installed. You could even initiate an obsession process, not even knowing it. So I would not recommend anyone to do. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Gil. What I have actually taken from what you've just read is that someone's gone to Alan Kardec and asked for help, because earlier on, I think it was something like, why are you why are you doing what you're doing with these poor people? So to me, that sounds like they've asked for help because they felt or they know that there's something there that they can't control, and so they're trying to find answers to why things are happening, and what Kardec's trying to do is trying to be like a mediator and find common ground, and by way of making the disincarnate spirit feel important by starting to hone in on, or what was your job, and like he was interested in the spirit itself. He was starting to nut out why things were happening, and that's where he said, I got insulted because I really liked good old Noah's red liquor. That's why I wanted them to clear out. So that tells me that perhaps it was an old drink house or something like that, and these people had moved in and it was no longer a house of drinking. It was just a residence, and the spirit didn't like that. Could that be something you think would be observation of what has been written here?
It's applicable as well, yes. And as I said before, every phenomena has a reason. If it's not asking for help, as you suggested, is also to make us think about it, to pay attention. It is a wake-up call, like. And one of the answers of the spirit is telling us, well, that's also to you guys to see that we really exist. You will start to dig into it to figure out that we exist. So yeah, we don't have enough information on this one to know that it's A, B, or C, really. There was a brief conversation to give us some feedback. But if Kardec kept going on and on and on, yes, chances are that you could find things like you said. I think so. Well, I'll move on. And who is your instructor? Your very kind King Louis. We asked this question because of the nature of some of the responses, which appear to be beyond the capability of the spirit itself, both in the substance of the ideas expressed and in the form of the language. When he started to use that word electricity, and that's the way we do, mixing with fluid of the lady, that's what I think got Kardec's attention for that. It is nothing extraordinary that he had been aided by a more enlightened spirit who wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to instruct us. This is a common occurrence, but another notable particularity in this case is that the other spirit's influence was made apparent in the handwriting itself, in the answers in which he, St. Louis, interfered. The handwriting was more regular and flowing, while in the answers, the rag picker, it was angular, rough, irregular, and often barely illegible, revealing a very different character. So look what Kardec says. In the answer, even in the writing, he was able to identify which part was the spirit he evocated, and which part was the benefactor, only by the writing itself. So that's very interesting. Oh, hi, Munir.
Hi, Guilherme. But by reading this, can we conclude that all this conversation with St. Louis and then with the spirit was through writing?
Is a possibility, yes.
Yeah, because it starts saying conversation, but then when I read this, I said, well, it was a conversation through writing. Perhaps they put the questions, asking verbally the spirit, and then got the answer through to writing?
At that time, was more common to have communications in writing than verbal. So it's very possible that he was describing as a conversation, but it was a written conversation, like he was verbally adding a question into the room and the answer was coming in writing.
Okay.
Hi, Charles.
Hello, everyone. Yes, I confirm he's clearly talking about handwriting, écriture in French. So it's the forms of the letter, which are for some answers quite nice and for some others quite irregular, let's say so.
Mm-hmm. So possibly he was throwing the verbal questions in the air, and then the answers came in writing. See, what do you do nowadays? Do you care about your future? Not yet. I just wonder about. I am remembered so little on the earth that no one prays for me. Since I don't have anyone to help me, I don't do anything. We will soon see how much may be contributed to the process and relief for less evolved spirits through prayer and counsel. I think we know that we can help spirits through our thoughts, through our prayer, right? But that do not eliminate also the responsibility of the spirit himself or herself to move on the right direction. They can also pray themselves, right? What was your name when you were alive? Janet. Very well then, Janet. We shall pray for you. Tell us whether this evocation has pleased or upset you. It has mostly pleased me because you are nice folk, joyful and lively, although you are a bit serious. Well, that doesn't matter. You listen to me and I'm content. Janet. So you remind me the mechanism of a mediumship meeting when those spirits are invited to come to the meeting and they, on the end, sometimes say they are pleased, sometimes they're not. Hi, Charles. Charles?
What I think really amazing in this short dialogue is the second question. And there we see that Kardec was really absolutely not afraid by this type of things. And he's asking positively, can you throw a stone on us here? So it shows that he was really absolutely without any fear, consistent with all what he wrote, that this material effect phenomenon can be frightening, but are not dangerous most of the case. And the answer of the spirit is also quite interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not afraid, are you?
Yeah, voilà.
Very nice. Very nice. So now we are moving on to the item 96, the phenomenon of apportation. This phenomenon only differs from those we dealt with above because of the benevolent intention of the spirit who produces it, by the almost always pleasing nature of the objects, and by the gentle and often delicate manner by which they are carried. The phenomenon consists in the spontaneous bringing the object that were not in the meeting place a few moments previously. They are usually flowers, but sometimes fruits, candy, jewelry, etc. 97. We must point out, however, that this particular phenomenon is one of the most lend itself to being imitated, and it is therefore necessary to be forewarned against fraud. We know that the art of stage magic can produce experience of this type. However, Even if we were not confronted with a professional, we could easily be fooled by a skillful and self-interested maneuver. The best of all guarantees is, first, the character, the known honesty, and the absolute disinterestedness of the individuals who experiment with these effects. Second, a careful examination of all the circumstances in which the phenomenon occurs. And finally, an enlightened knowledge of Spiritism, the sole means of determining if there was anything suspicious about the phenomena. I would say that not only this type of phenomena, we should consider those 3 points for everything related with any phenomena. Like that, we would kind of eliminating the great majority of possibilities. Hi, Sandra?
No, just to add that, I wanted to say here first the character. I believe that if this kind of events, if the people or the person charges for that, so that's a clue that is not reliable.
Well, to me,
I think.
no, I agree with you. To me, I don't like to get involved in the Spiritism, of course, to anything related to money. Very unlikely you see me involved in anything that has money and the Spiritism together. So I totally agree with you. But not only that, let's eliminate the financial aspect of that possibility. In a room of 10 people, you may have people with different characteristics, different moral levels. So when some scientists of that time, some researchers of that time, they were trying to find the reason behind everything, they were very careful to whom they wanted in that experience. They really select people that had no marks in their resume, if you like. They had no reason or no interest other than the research itself. That was a kind of warranty they could find at the time. And quite often in the Spiritist magazine, you see that Kardec describes who were in those sciences. Military people, or doctors, or whatever, but people that were respected in society. So unlikely to have anyone coming with any negative comment to those people because they were respected already in society. So that was one of the ways that he was using to prevent some fake news like. So I lost where I stopped. Oh, no, here. Okay. 98. A Spirit's dissertation on apportation. The explanation concerning apportations and physical manifestations in general has been notably summarized in the following dissertation by a spirit whose communications bear an inconstable stamp of depth and logic. Many more of his explanations will appear over the course of this work. He has made himself known as Erastus, a disciple of St. Paul, and is the protector of the medium who serves to interpret them. In order to experience phenomena of this order, it is indispensable to employ mediums, who I shall call sensitives, that is gifted to the highest degree with the mediumistic faculty of expansion and penetrability. The easily excitable nervous systems of these mediums enable them, by means of certain vibrations, to project the animalized fluid all around them. Impressionable natures, those individuals whose nerves vibrate at least emotion, who respond to the lightest sensation that influences them mentally or physically, internally or externally, are the most capable of becoming excellent mediums for physical effects of tangible apportation. In fact, the nervous system, which is almost entirely deprived of refractory envelope, which normally isolates the system in most incarnates, renders them appropriate for the development of these phenomena. Thus, so this is a physical characteristics of the medium. Thus, a subject of this nature, whose other faculties are not hostile towards mediumization, will more easily precipitate the phenomena of tangibility, raps within walls and furniture, intelligent movings about, and even the suspension in the air of any heavy inert matter. The same results will be obtained with greater certainty if instead of just one medium, there are several equally endowed mediums available. Let me highlight that here. But from the production of such phenomena to the obtaining of apportation, there is a huge gap. For in the latter case, not only is the job of the spirit more complex and difficult, but it can only operate using single mediumistic instruments. That is, several mediums cannot contribute simultaneously to the production of the same phenomena. On the contrary, it may even be that the presence of certain persons who are antipathetic to the operation spirit
is diffusion of certain fluids that can only be.
Can you repeat? I missed what you said.
Sorry.
Do you want to ask anything?
No, didn't know that mic was on.
Oh, right. Oh, no worries. No worries. I thought there was a question. Sorry. So let me go back here. On the contrary, it may even be that the presence of certain persons who are antipathetic to the operating spirits, I will highlight it here, antipathetic, will radically hinder its action. To these very important reasons, we will also add that apportations always require the greatest concentration, and at the same time, the greatest diffusion of certain fluids that can only be obtained from extremely well-gifted mediums. Extremely well-gifted mediums. In a word, mediums whose electromediumistic instruments is well conditioned. I will stop here because there's a lot of things here so we can talk, all right? So let me go back to the beginning. If I did, I think this part here is also very clear. But then, first thing that really got my attention is that sometimes to have those kind of phenomena, we have one or more mediums in the room, and we have the perception that all mediums together is like they are contributing all of them to that phenomena. But Kardec straight up, not Kardec, Erastus came straight away and said, no, to this type of phenomena, a single medium is the one that is contributing to that phenomenon. It's not a group of mediums, it's one medium. And he's very clear.
Could I ask a question?
Of course.
Right. In this particular point that you're talking about, I found it very interesting as well, because sometimes people say, oh, if we get in a group, we're going to be stronger, things are going to happen. But what it is transpiring to me is what we've been talking in previous studies about the perispirit, about how this relationship between the spirit and the medium have to be established for a communication, for something that must happen. So for me, like the spirit who is behind the phenomena, he is able to use only one single, as Erasmus put in here, single mediumistic instrument. I really love this term. I love this term very much. So do you think, as the spirit won't be able to connect with more than one incarnated people's perispirit to be able to make this phenomena happening? I think it's, I don't know if I'm being understood, but for me, it's like you need to have a good relation, one-to-one, to be able to have this, especially these things happening. I don't know.
Okay, let's go step by step, Liz. First, we need to dissecate that situation. When we have more mediums together praying towards a situation or in favor of one person, yes, we are stronger, right? So everyone to see that when we are together, yes, we are stronger. We can do things easily when we are together. But for that particular type of phenomena, is one-to-one. Imagine how to mix. Let's think about a soup. A soup is very easy. You can get products from everywhere into the bowl and then prepare your soup. But how to identify what is what? Let's think about materialization first. Materialization will give you a better picture of what I have to say. I am donating my fluids to materialization. And then MUNIR, that I saw your hand, MUNIR, just a minute. MUNIR is also donating his fluid. And then let's say that Liz also donates her fluid. And then a spiritist worker put everything in the bowl, mix all three fluids to give that mixture of fluids to the spirit that will materialize himself. Very good. But there is a problem. That fluid we donate will return to the medium after the phenomena. After we mix the soup, carrots, anything you like, is it simple to separate carrots, water, salt? Can you do that after you mix your soup? Very unlikely. Why am they making that comparison? Because it will be the same thing.
Yeah. So let's say it's one-to-one in this particular phenomena for the safety of the medium as well, and for the manageability of the spirit itself to be able to make those fluids work for that particular objective.
I don't think it's only because of safety. I don't think it's possible.
I
don't think, because I did work with ectoplasmy, I had to study a little bit about the subject, and I could not find any reference saying that it's possible. Exactly the opposite. So I think that it's not the way it works. So I'm not saying it's not possible, but when I'm thinking about it, I think it'll be very hard to achieve because of what that example I'm giving about soup, right? So it's very complicated. There are situations when the spirit is going to treat a patient, for example, someone that's in need. At that time, he makes fluids from vegetables, from minerals, from wherever it comes, and apply into the individual. But after being applied to the individual, that's it. It's not coming back to the origin.
But that's not necessarily a mediumistic phenomenon.
it is a mediumistic phenomenon.
To get the fluids from nature to help someone.
Yeah, correct. So let me allow my friend Munir to talk, otherwise he won't be happy with me.
I just want to say it's important to remember we are talking about physical manifestation. And physical manifestation, we've seen in the previous case in Neuer Street that the medium that donated the fluid, the electricity, as the spirit said, wasn't even aware of that. So it's different when the spirit establishes a connection with the medium spirit for communication, writing, speaking, whatever. And in this case, the fluid that the medium donates is more important than actually this connection mind to mind in a spirit, discarnate spirit to incarnate spirit. And it's depending on the situation, and apparently this is one where, as GUILHERME said, it is better not to mix the fluids because it may be counterproductive. Exactly why? Well, let's see if they give us an explanation in detail. But he is relating the mixing of different fluids donated by different people, or just taking one from one particular medium that is more capable of doing it. And let's see the reason why. Perhaps there is an explanation to say, well, in this case, you know, it's not productive to have more than one person donating fluids, but it's important to remember that, you know, it's physical manifestation here. They are talking about different types of physical manifestations, physical effects.
When you were talking, Munir, something came to my mind that people may mix a little bit things as when they go to the Spiritist center, they see 10 mediums aligned, treating one, healing one person. It doesn't mean that they're all together healing, mixing everything to heal. No. In my eyes, every individual medium is working with a specific spirit to perform a specific task. But when we look from outside, here we go, it's a big pot, they're all together working, so they're all doing, but it's not like that. And just a minute, let me just finish here, I'll let you talk too. And no, go on. It's highlighted, I won't forget.
It's me, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just struggling to understand, like you said that the spirits donate the energy or the fluid, but then comes back to them. Why it has come back to them?
Is the incarnated spirit.
Yeah, but why the fluid comes back to the incarnate spirit? Because you gave the example of the soap that you put the ingredients, but then you have to give the ingredients back to the medium. Why the ingredient has to come back to the medium if he's donating it? If you donate, you don't get back.
Let me make things more complicated now. Well, what we donate is called ectoplasm.
Okay, yeah.
Where the ectoplasm is originated is within our cells. The mitochondria, they produce the fluid we call ectoplasms inside each cell. So we donate temporarily that fluid to allow the physical manifestation to happen. And there is a need to get it back, to reestablish the characteristics of our physical body. To give you an idea, during the Kardec's time, when a lot of people want to make a lot of experiences, you could not touch unless granted the right to touch the materialized spirit. You could not keep part of the clothes of the spirit for the experience. There's a lot of care that needs to be taken into account to have those kind of experiences. Because if there was an event when someone just grabbed one spirit, materialized the spirit in one's experiment, the medium almost died. The medium almost died. And there was another example where they were granted the right to cut a piece of the cloth of the materialized spirit. After the session, they had massive trouble to recuperate the normal status of the medium, because the fluid that goes will return. And there are some people that even say, well, you will donate fluid and there will be, you will get back, but not in this type of phenomena, right? For example, when I'm doing healing, when I'm doing a password, some people say, or healing, I am donating my fluid. This fluid will not come back. This fluid will, how can I say that in English? I will regain that fluid by other means, by food, by breathing, by the benefactors giving me a hand. There are other ways to get that back. But when I'm donating dense ectoplasm to that kind of phenomena, is a different mechanism. It has to come back. I cannot recuperate that from anywhere. I need to get my own fluid back. Hi, Munia.
Yeah, just to say that, you know, what type of fluid are we giving? And ectoplasm is a very particular situation. And I see it as an integral part of the medium. It's like borrowing your blood, go through a machine, but it has to come back to you. You know, if you lose, you know, from one, you know, amount onwards, your health is compromised. So, you know, ectoplasm is something that you borrow, you know, or you lend it, but you know, you need it back. It's not you can give away and well, forget it, you know. Thing I see as part of the vital process of keeping the medium's body alive.
Yeah, you will not find a session of materialization with open doors, open windows, anyone can join. You need to be prepared. You need to be a serious person. You need to understand. You need to have you could not have sex. You could not eat meat. You have to be prepared days in advance to be part of that meeting, because if something goes wrong, you may, one of the things that can happen is jeopardize the health of the medium.
Okay, thank you.
Did I help? I don't think so, did I?
No, it's just because I have heard some case, I think Xavier, I don't remember who, he gave like Shayla the piece of her clothes or flowers. So that one, he was allowed to do. I think there's another case as well, a girl that.
This is different. This is
different, yeah? All right, okay.
This is a port.
All right, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Spirits get something from somewhere else to give to someone. And we have that in museums in Brazil, in France, I believe.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Right, that's a different phenomenon. Following that line, I'll give you another scary example. And there is everything documented, even in the local newspapers in Vitória, Espírito Santo, where one teenage girl used to go to the hospital with nails inside her body. From time to time, an apport situation happened that appear nails on the arms, on the legs, internally into her body. This is another thing. This is apport. For a mechanism, the spirits were able to get nails and to live inside her body. And oh, GUILHERME is crazy now. Well, I would invite you to do a research on the internet about the subject, and there are documentations made by doctors, not by spiritists, and they could not find the explanation, but it was happening for a period of time in Cariacica, Espírito Santo in Brazil. That's one of them. If you want to find more, there's more cases. So
razor blades as well. I remember several cases of razor blades inside the body. Yeah.
I'm just thinking about this one because she was a teenager. So that, well, you know, it's like a kid and touches more on our heart, you know.
Yeah.
But how to explain, of course, the policemen and everything that was around, well, someone is somehow putting inside the physical body nails, but there was no point of you could see point where that nail was put into the skin, into the flesh. So there's a lot of things that we need to evaluate. Of course, could have some fake situations, but in this one, no one could prove anything else. And the only reason that was able to explain was, or the only possibility able to explain was the apport situation. All right.
Thank you. Then.
Hi, Munir. Munir, you mute.
I just want to use your expertise and chances as well. Is it right to say that then materialization is temporary, always temporary, and then apport is permanent, showing that the spirits can't create any material thing because they can't intervene directly in the physical body, and in the physical world, sorry. When this happens, when something is permanent, it's because it's being taken from one place in the material world and then taken to another place in the material world.
I think we have.
Is it correct to say?
I think we have 4 situations. Materialization, temporary. It may last hours, but it's temporary, right? Apport, you get something from place A to place B, right? You said mixing things, spirit creating something. I don't believe the spirits has the ability to create anything, right? But I believe the spirits have the ability to mix things existent in the nature to create something and then do the apport.
Yeah, influence the material world to produce something material.
Yes.
But not present it ready-made. You know,
that's the way I see it. That's the way.
Okay, me as well. Yeah, yeah, I see it that way. Yeah.
Help us out, Charles.
Yes, I think you're right. Apportation is taking an object from somewhere and bringing it to somewhere else. So it can be permanent, but it can also be not permanent. Sometimes the apportations are disappearing, that we see in the literature. Sometimes, I know, for instance, in an apportation case where the flowers and everything which has been apported has been kept and is still today, 100 years after, available. So this is a permanent one. And material, so for the, it's Kardec is explaining a little bit in the next, or not Kardec, but Erast in the next paragraphs. But for having apportation, it needs a heavy involvement of the ectoplasm or the vital fluid of the medium itself. So it cannot be fluid from the spirit because this doesn't work. It needs absolutely the fluid from the medium. That is used temporarily in order to take the object which is brought from somewhere and to bring it going through the walls and everything to the new place. And when you have materialization, the ectoplasm is used temporarily for a spirit to materialize. But as soon as it is finished, it is dissolving and the ectoplasm is coming back to the medium. And this is why also, as we told last time, you have sometimes dematerialization, loss of weight, and whatever, what has been observed about the medium, demonstrating, proving that the ectoplasm is composed by physical matter of the physical body of the medium itself.
Very good indeed.
Thanks, Charles.
Before we finish our today's study, there are 2 things I would like to mention that I highlighted. The first one, he mentioned that extremely well-gifted mediums. So that does not happen everywhere, right? He's one of, we don't have hundreds and hundreds per Spiritist center with the ability to do that kind of work. And one that's very important, not only for this type of phenomena, even on the mediumship meeting, we need to be sympathetic to one another at least. If we don't love one another, at least to be sympathetic. Because when we have people with the contrary opinions to the level that become antipathic to another person, that's a problem, because we make things more complicated. We create a different level of difficulty to the good performance of the activity. So it is important that we try to the best of our abilities to remain at least sympathetic to the people that we are working with. If we cannot become friends, that's fine, but at least we don't have any negative situation between the members. So what time is it? Well, it's out time, so let me stop sharing so we can all come back to our main room. And let's see here. Gallery. So sympathetic to the people that we are working with. We cannot become friends, that's fine. Oh, I see. But at least we don't have any negative situation between the members. Well, guys, I will stop now. Time, so let me stop sharing so we can all come back to our main room. I have no idea what is happening here. But I can hear myself talking.
You're probably watching the streaming at the same time.
I should not, but yeah, something is happening. But
there is no stream, huh? It's just
yeah,
record.
I know. Anyway, so that was very nice to be you all here. Appreciate your participation, make my life easier, and I think this study is way better. So I'm looking forward to see you guys here again next week, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend. God be with you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Danny.